Today we are going to talk about some news that we've received this week that I think is very indicative of the direction that cruising is going right now. And so let's talk about some things that will probably stay the same and some things that are definitely changing, as well as how the selection of ports by cruise lines are kind of, it's a little bit different than we saw before COVID. And so I think we've got a lot to talk about with this, and I'm really excited to hear what you think as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. So over the course of this last week, we have seen in the news two stories that I think really made me stop and think about where cruising is going, what some of the goals of the cruise lines are, and what we might be looking for in the future when it comes to cruising. It doesn't mean that I think that those of us who have cruised for a long time, and many people have cruised for much longer than Gordon and I have, it doesn't mean that they're still not going to enjoy cruising. But I think with the direction that the cruise lines are going, it's going to draw more people to cruising for different experiences, as well as hopefully things will stay the way I like them. And but I'm willing to change a little bit too, because nothing is constant except for change, and I don't want to get left behind. So first of all, there was a news story this week that Norwegian Holdings has $6.1 billion invested and set aside for ordering 8 new ships. That's huge, and 5 of them are going to come over the next 4 years. Now, the interesting thing to me about this is the same Norwegian that has been making announcements over the last couple of months. We have heard several announcements. They have trimmed the number of employees that they have shoreside. They have cut the wages of some of their employees on their ships, some of their crew members, and they have tightened things up and don't have as many crew members on their ships as they did before this announcement just at the beginning of the year. So you look at all of these cost-cutting measures and the fact that they raised their gratuities. Cruise prices across the board are going up. You can still pick up some last minute deals, but cruise prices are they're not falling. They're not like they were that we saw like when Omicron was going on a year ago. No, cruise line prices have rebounded and they are on their way up. And so I thought it was really interesting that with making all of these cost-cutting measures and borrowing all of this money, most recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we heard the announcement that they brought another $600 million. They've got an $8.5 billion order book going, you guys. To me, that's huge. And so you stop and think, why would they be doing that? And so save that thought, and then, or you can put that in the comments right now and come right back. The second announcement we had this week is that Royal Caribbean just cut this deal for their second Icon class ship. So if you are new around here, Icon of the Seas is coming out this year. It's huge. Everyone is so excited. That ship sold out so fast. If you're fortunate enough to be able to pick up a cabin now, it's because someone canceled. And that always happens on ships. People make reservations and then they change their mind, or something comes up and they can no longer go, and then a cabin becomes available. So if you want to go on Icon of the Seas, you just have to keep checking, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up a cabin. But anyway, they've announced their second ship, and those of us who follow Princess closely, we know that the Sun Princess, which is a whole new, it's the first ship they've got in their Sphere class. She is going to come out in just under a year now. February 8th of 2024 is when her inaugural sailing is set for, but she is going to be different than anything we have seen by Princess before. She is going to be much closer, not the same as what we are seeing from Norwegian with their big ships that they're just doing, and the same Royal Caribbean. There's some differences between all of them, but it really made me stop and think about, like, where are we going? None of these big cruise lines are putting out the smaller ships anymore. We see some of the smaller luxury cruise lines doing some of the smaller ships, but we don't see any of these big cruise lines doing that any longer. So as I was thinking about it, there are some things that I think we're going to see a little bit different than we've experienced in the past. I still think that those of us who love, like I love to get on a cruise ship and enjoy the experience. I love that someone cooks for me. Somebody cleans up the room for us, makes the bed every day and tidies up the bathroom. I love that they take us to different destinations. Love that part of it. But so I think that that part is going to continue. People, I would just call myself am I a simple cruiser? If you can categorize it, I don't need water slides. I don't need all of these other things. I just want to get on the ship and enjoy it and go to fabulous places. That's my goal. Now, with these new ships, though, they are really upping what they are offering as far as, first of all, well, let me say this first. I think the cruise lines are doing these because everybody is excited about the latest and greatest, right? So when you have a cruise line and they're trying to drive sales, when you release a new ship, everybody wants to be on that ship. They get on board, they want to experience everything, so they spend their money to experience everything. I think it is a really strong, income driver for these cruise lines, as it should be. They spend a lot of money having these big fancy ships built, and so they've got to get the revenue to make that feasible to continue. But I think that it draws a lot of people even to try their cruise line that wouldn't otherwise try it. If they see the fabulous new ships coming out, they want to give them a try, and maybe they'll end up liking that cruise line and it'll draw in some more loyal passengers. So you've got that. The second thing is, I noticed that on the newer ships, the casinos are much bigger. They are so much more apt to have other experiences on the ship that you have to pay for, that don't just come with your cruise fare. And that can range from anything to more spa offerings, to more like a racetrack, to more wine tastings, just like all of the different things that there's a lot more of them on board to spend your money on. And that is another big income driver for cruise lines. They really pay attention to how much each person spends when they're on board the ship. So I think that's a really big thing. And then the next thing, of course, that goes with these are just, the economies of scale that we learned about in school. When you've got a ship that can hold, 6,000 passengers, and you can have it on one ship rather than two ships at 3,000 passengers each, of course, there's the economies of scale. You can manage so much more on that larger ship and do it more cheaply than trying to run two ships to handle the same number of passengers. I think that's huge. I think a really important thing, though, and a really big goal that I hope these cruise lines are thinking about is to not change the overall vibe on the cruise, to stay true to who they are and offer these bigger ships, offer these extra experiences, but really remain true to their cruise customers, to the kind of experience that these people board the ship and want to have. As long as we're talking about experience, the other day I talked to you, did you know that in some schools of management you can major in experiences, I don't know the official name, but you can major in learning how important it is and how to help companies deliver the experience that their employees want, that their customers want, just this whole thing. It's really huge. And so not only do you have the kind of experiences that you're going to offer for people to pay for or included, but you are also going to have that overall vibe that you have on a cruise ship. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see if that can continue, if they can continue to, on each cruise line overall, draw the clientele that will keep you true to who you are. And I don't know, it remains to be seen, and I think it's a topic of discussion, how many cruise lines want to change who they are? How many of them don't want to stay true to their current demographic or their current vibe, and they want to change things up a little bit? Let me know what you think about that too, because I think that that's changing a little bit. As you look at the ads for all of these cruise lines, when I think about Celebrity, when I think about Princess, I know they are trying to market to younger people, but when I get on their ships, it's predominantly still who has always sailed with them. And so that's a whole nother discussion, but tell me what you think about that. We could talk about it because it's one thing to have a really strong customer base, and it's another thing to try to be bringing in people from someone else's customer base or people that have never done that before. And then the last thing that I think is really big is cruise lines used to compete based on a little bit on the experience on the ship and very much on where they took you, that you wouldn't just be staying in one place, that you would be going to these different ports, whether it was just a smaller area, the Caribbean or something like that, or around Europe down to Antarctica, whatever it is. But now I would say that they are competing with all-inclusive resorts, because you can get on a cruise ship and never get off and have all of these things to do. You don't have to you don't have to get off to experience anything if you don't want to. You've got your water slides, your swimming pools, your all of these different experiences are on board. And a lot of these all-inclusives, I think, are starting to see that, so they have to do something else to differentiate about it. But the cruise lines are really trying to become something that is all-inclusive, that you can take your family on, or just you, whoever you want to go, and everything you need is on the ship and you don't have to get off. So will you all let me know what you think about that down below? I've been thinking about this a lot and I would like your input. Now, another thing that I think is very interesting, and I think I'm doing this Saturday night, so I think it's really good when we have an extra minute, you know, whenever you watch this over the weekend. This is clearly for Sunday. I came across an article, and they were two articles actually, about how Princess is having more ships sailing out of California than ever before. And they quoted the President John Paget, and he said that half of their fleet is home porting in Los Angeles for half the year. Now, you might recall before COVID, like sometimes you would have a Princess ship sailing out of Los Angeles. Sometimes you would have one out of San Francisco. But it was not like it is now, that you have something there year-round, and the big draw that California is. And in the course of talking about it, they say it's a really big deal because so many people in the western half of the United States can easily drive and sail from Los Angeles, so it makes it a little bit easier. But it's a really big deal to Los Angeles, though, because they say for every cruise ship that comes in and stays there, every one that does, it's $1 million to the local economy there. So that is really important. Now, in connection with that, we have got the Koningsdam, and she just set sail, I believe it's today, for a 35-night sailing that goes to Hawaii and the South Seas, round trip out of San Diego. How convenient is that? And so she is going to start off with several sea days, go down to Hawaii, and then head on down and go to islands in the South Pacific. She's going to end up in Tahiti for a few days. It is just an extraordinary cruise. And so I know that we have at least one Let's Go family member on there, so I'm very excited to hear how it goes. But also, they are going to repeat that itinerary in February of 2024. So if you are interested in something like that, I think it is a splendid way to go. A lot of times, if you want to do one of these big cruises that includes so much of the South Pacific, a lot of times they are not out of something so handy as San Diego in this instance. And Princess has a round trip out of Los Angeles as well. And so just a lot to think about there. Now, finally, we're going to talk really quick about AirTags. I have been seeing so many stories lately, and you know, last summer, so right now, you know, we're in the middle of February in 2023. Last summer, we heard so much about AirTags during the time that so many pieces of luggage were lost. If you weren't following us then, they had just magnificent problems with keeping track of luggage, and a lot during last year. And so a really interesting thing that I want you to think about is still AirTags, and then Samsung calls them their smart tags, and then there's also the tile. So there are different little things you can use. You put them in your suitcase. Don't tape them to the outside or attach them. Put them inside so they're less likely to get lost. And then on your phone, you can always see where your luggage is. A lot of airlines don't like this because they don't want you to necessarily know how lost your luggage is. And so I just wanted to let you all know, if you are going to travel very much at all, I would say get yourself some AirTags or smart tags or tiles so that you can keep track of your luggage. It can really save you, because when they tell you they don't know where your luggage is or they're tracking it down, you can say exactly where your luggage is so that you can have them return it to you and get it. Especially, it's much more flexible to have them bring it to your home at the end of a trip. But if you are flying somewhere and you need your luggage, you want to know where it is. And every time, like when we fly on Delta, they will, on the app, it notifies you once they have put your luggage on the airplane. But when I was just recently flying, it didn't notify me for whatever reason, but because I had an AirTag, I could see exactly where the luggage is. When we were at baggage claim after our last trip, and Gordon was picking my mother and I up at the airport, it was taking forever to get our luggage, so he looked and he could see that ours was still outside. And so it is just really helpful. So I wanted to throw in that little bit of advice for you. They're not expensive and they are very handy, and you just use them over and over and over again. You don't have to replace them, okay? And I think that you can replace the batteries in them. Gordon would be the one to ask about that, but I don't think it's difficult. So that's what I've got for you today. Let me know how everyone's doing, and please let me know what you think, because I think we need to talk about the direction cruising's going. What do you think about these big ships? Are you even excited to go on the big ships? You probably, if you're not new around here, Gordon and I are booked to go on that inaugural cruise of the Sun Princess on February 8th. And I'm going because I want to see what she's like. I want to see what Princess is doing with their new ship. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I do anticipate that she is going to be a beautiful ship, because Princess truly builds beautiful ships. So if you are new here and you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. We need you in our Let's Go family, and you're going to love being part of our family here. Also, if you appreciate these updates, please give this video a thumbs up. I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.